There you go. Now you got your encore.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name's Kathy. It's nice to see you all here today. Thank you to June for organizing our chairs in this really great, helpful way.
What's that?
Oh, because he's filming.
For filming.
So one of these lights is hurting the eyes of people over here.
Okay.
All right, so my name's Kathy. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves, and then we'll have our presentation by Brian. So in introducing yourself, tell us your name and something you like about March.
St. Patrick's Day.
All right, well, wait your turn. My name's Kathy. My name's Kathy, and I like March because it means it's almost April. And it's going to be warmer. All right, let's go with you.
We're Bob and Kathy McCormick, and I like St. Patrick's Day.
You get to have a say, even though he introduced you.
I know he did. I'm Kathy McCormick. And I can speak for myself.
Oh, I know that.
And I don't like March usually, except that it's, well, when we're in Arizona, I like it.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day, St. Joseph's Day, any time to have a good time and get together with people.
All right.
John Haig, Veterans for Peace and Latin America Solidarity Committee.
I'm Vicki Ross. I'm the director at the Western New York Peace Center and very happy and proud to be a member of this congregation and part of Interfaith Peace Network. And Pippi Longstocking is wandering around here. I think you'll recognize her. The only dog here, luckily. And we're excited because it's going to be now Ruse, which is the biggest, it's the first day of spring and the biggest holiday of the year in Afghanistan and anywhere, and it's Persian New Year.
So the vernal equinox.
Yeah, exactly.
22 when I was
my name is Terry.
lighter coat.
My name is Terry, and I taught with Brian's mother in math at Canisius.
Yes.
And I like March because we're going to have a talk at the fourth Monday in March on immigration and sanctuary for immigrants.
Yes.
And that'll be at Canisius, and there's some flyers.
All right.
I'm John. I'm the other co-pastor with Kathy, and I like March for many of the reasons that some of you or most of you gave. Thank you.
I'm Lee, and I like the longer days.
I'm Mary, and I like March especially this year because we're going to march for our lives and follow the kids in Parkland.
Yay.
All right, thank you about that.
And I'm Brian, and I like March because it's when the whitewater rafting season in Western New York begins. And the rivers finally unfreeze, and we'll be starting in Cattaraugus Creek next weekend.
Oh, that's so exciting. All right, so Brian's going to talk to us about some stuff, possibly the Disappointment River.
I was a bomb technician, took apart improvised explosive devices in Iraq on a couple tours. I wrote a few books about bombs. I wrote a second book about Afghanistan and bombs. I did a lot of magazine work. I just got back from Iraq actually a couple months ago, where I was in northern Iraq writing about ISIS and the weapons that they make. I wrote about the Boston Bomb Squad during the Marathon bombing. So a few years ago, right after my second book about Afghanistan came out, and I was looking for a new project, I promised my beautiful wife, Jessie, that my new book would not be about bombs. And I succeeded, mostly. I think the word bomb appears in this book twice, and I was forced to. It was like there was no other word, so that I got stuck doing it. But so instead, I wrote a book that actually came through an accidental Google search. I was not searching for this project specifically. I stumbled upon it, and I couldn't believe that I didn't know this story when I came upon it. So I'm going to read just the prologue. It's 2 pages. It's very short, and it's going to give you kind of a sense of what I'll be talking about. So I took a long river trip. The river was liquid glass, a cloud mirror that rolled beneath my canoe and made me dizzy, as if I might stumble and fall down into the heavens. and in the horizon, the silvery sky and the water fused as one. We had been paddling for 2 days, and the river was so wide that the far bank appeared to be little more than a slight film of green. Reeds filled our shore, black ducks and seagulls, and a steady succession of bald eagles feeding on them both. Behind us, tumbling lake storms, and ahead, just a rumor of current. This river, the many nations of Dene, the indigenous peoples in the upper and middle basin, know it as the Decho. The Gwich'agwichin of the lower interior bush is the Nagwich'unjik. The Inuvialuit, the western Inuit at the river's end in the Arctic, is the Kukpak. All the names are a variation on the same theme, the Big River, and for good reason. It is the second longest in North America. The island that plugs the river's upper mouth is larger than 5 Manhattans. Everything about the Decho is enormous. And yet, I intended to canoe every drop of it, all 1,100 miles. I'm a fairly serious river guide, but never before had I undertaken a self-supported trip of this magnitude, and the scale of the journey weighed heavily. We paddled an 18.5-foot an 18.5-foot sea clipper canoe, wide and steady as the days, designed to track through whitecaps and swallow hundreds of pounds of gear. I spent half a year researching, purchasing, testing, sorting, packing, and repacking that gear. An Everest-rated tent, solar panels and satellite link, a handcrafted curved splitting axe from Maine, 90 freeze-dried dinners from Quebec, plus apples, mandarins, bagels, peanut butter, chocolate, oatmeal tea, chunk honey, and 15 pounds of pemmican. All that and more, stuffed in waterproof barrels or lashed to the boat so a rogue wave couldn't end our trip. That morning, as we broke our first camp on the sandy shore of Great Slave Lake, I felt smothered by the scale of the job ahead of us, the labor required, the intense summer heat, the size of the river. It had taken 2 days of travel just to reach the starting line, weeks and weeks yet to go to find the end. All day, the shore ground by reluctantly, grueling progress in the hazy shimmer. But then, unexpectedly and with great relief, a breeze stirred behind us. How did a breeze come out of the east? And the watery mirror shattered as wavelets formed around us. I unfolded the small sail we had brought for just such an unlikely development, clipped it to the metal bar at the nose of the boat, and when a gust caught us, I felt it tug hard against my line, and we surged forward, surfing on and over the rising waves, making real headway for the first time. We paddled with ease, and the wind filled our sail, and the current increased as the river coalesced, and so, by the end of that day, I felt it for the first time. The optimism, the promise, felt by the men and women who attempted the first recorded descent of this river, and whose path, in fact, I was following. For centuries, Europeans had been searching for a water route through North America. This mystical passage was known by many names: the Strait of Annan, the River Oregon, the Mer de l'Ouest. Anyone who found it, mapped it, returned alive to tell the world would solve the greatest geographic mystery of the day and secure the riches and fame commensurate with such an achievement. Thousands of sailors and soldiers had tried and failed over the years, but none had explored the Decho, not until a party of fur traders and their indigenous partners launched an expedition in 1789. This river, its channel so wide and flat, the size of 100 Champs-Élysées, was the last best hope of finding a shipping lane through the continent. Midnight approached, and the sun was just starting to curve toward the orange horizon. My face flushed in its glow. The wind drove us on, the river pulled us ever west, and I understood then, in that moment, why those explorers really did believe that in the Decho they had finally found a route to China, the fabled Northwest Passage. So,
Was the boat unmotorized?
my boat was, and their boat, but yes, I was in a canoe.
Paddling only.
Paddling only. Was
What's the river that you're talking about?
the river I'm talking about, the Decho, is the Mackenzie River, which is named after this guy, which is the story that I'm about to tell you.
U.S. Air Force and a bomb.
like
Yeah, it's called
crosses,
Explosive Ordnance
over
Disposal. It's EOD. It's the bomb squad.
the place.
Mr.
and the
Castner,
cross is there, but it's like over
What kind of
a bus
person is going to love your
so
book?
you're kind of up on a hill.
I think so. My first two books are really military related, and so if somebody likes military history, is interested in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, what soldiers did there, and then some of the challenges of coming home, you know, a more complete story than just a gung-ho, shoot-'em-up kind of story. I think they'd be interested. My third book is a little different. That's more colonial history of the United States and North America. That's, you know, hundreds of years old. So it's adventure and travelogue.
I think that's important.
What was the biggest challenge you faced when you wrote this book?
Oh, definitely recreating the journey. So the book is about a man named Alexander Mackenzie and his trip to hopefully discover the Northwest Passage. He actually made it to the Arctic Ocean instead. And I retraced his journey 1,100 miles from Great Slave Lake to the Arctic Ocean and 40 days on the river. That was the biggest challenge. The book is me and my travelogue of my own journey, but the other half is about Alexander Mackenzie, who was a Scottish refugee, landed in New York City during the American Revolution, became a fur trader in the interior of North America when it was unclaimed and lawless. Very different than me.
Were you trying to imitate Mr. Mackenzie?
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe I followed his journey, but I think that's the limits of how we're alike.
If someone is going to make a movie about your life or about these books,
right,
who would you like to play you? Who do you think will play you?
You know, so I don't have any aspirations for myself. I think my wife would like Ryan Reynolds.